Heyo everybody, Haku here with my review for Tower of God Chapter 453, or Season 3 Episode 36, and I'm really excited because of this one. I think this might be like some of the most hype I've been since starting covering Tower of God for the channel, which was like 200 chapters ago. Almost, maybe more like 150, but it's been almost 4 years, and I don't know, I'm just really excited right now about where the story's going in the future. And of course, there are some things where I'm like, maybe the Calivan stuff should be saved for a little bit later on, but I don't know, just reading this chapter gave me feelings that I haven't felt reading Tower of God in a while. This feeling like there's just so many different things going on and everything working in concert together. I don't know, it just reminded me of early season 2, and I loved it. And there's so much that I'm like, okay, now I want to know what's going on with Wangnen's group. Now I want to see what's going to happen with Bomb's group. I want to see what's going to happen with Yasracha's division or squadron fighting against the people from the cage and everything. There's just a lot that's going on that I'm really personally excited for, and I just thought that this chapter was really good. I don't know what it is. I've loved so many arcs since covering the series on the channel, and yet, I don't know, just something special right now. The later part of this whole Cage arc has been really good, and yeah, I'm just excited for the future. But either way, let's talk about this chapter a bit, part by part, as it were. So starting off, Yasracha really makes Yama like beat the expletive out of himself. Like when he hit himself the first time, I was like, okay, so is this going to be something where Yama's going to have to willpower through it and break out of it? Is this going to be a situation where it's used for lore dumping, or Yasracha's gonna have him hit himself once just as sort of a thing to show him, look, this is what I can do to you as your opponent. But no, he legitimately just makes Yama beat the hell out of himself. So he also, again, drops some lore saying the blood that he gave them flows through his body. So again, this makes me think blood fusion, the Lopo-B is involved somehow. It could always be, because we know there's, 20 branches of the Lopo-B family. Each are based on an animal that they control, or something like that. But then again, if that were the case, Yama's group doesn't necessarily control animals, but rather they have the sort of attributes of them. So it makes me think that blood fusion is the more likely thing. I think that there were just some crazy 10 family experiments going on, and Yasracha's blood being a part of those experiments is why he can control them, and why Doom's power is probably just like a weaker version of what Yasracha has going on. Then again, though, it said that Doom could only control them when he had the Fang, so maybe maybe Doom's power is to give his power to others, but the actual control that comes from the Fang, maybe the Fang is Yasracha's, now that I think about it. This isn't in my notes or anything, just me speculating as I'm going through a stream of consciousness here. But yeah, maybe the Fang has something to do with Yasracha, and that's why the Fang gives Doom the control power, even. Now we have this Michael scene that's actually kind of weird, so I think maybe it's hard to translate sometimes, some nuance. Maybe the translation makes it seem more yandere than it actually is, where he's more like, I can't stand the way that Kun overlooked me, that's why I want to make him suffer, or whatever. But in translation, because the way we say things in English is sort of different societally than the way they say things in Korean, maybe things just came through as being weird and yandere-ish because of a difference in the way that we say things. But yeah, not sure. Either way, it was kind of weird and yandere-ish. Akryung shows up and says, okay, time to go. We're leaving Apple. Screw it. We're out of here. The Elder called. Which kind of brings up, why is Akryung working for Kelhelm? But either way, Akryung says to get out of there. And it's Akraptor's daughter, it would seem, the person who I and many of us were assuming was Rachel, and I still see a bunch of people saying, no, it's probably still Rachel, she's just using Akraptor's ring, and she changed the color of it to match her current look or whatever, but no, I do not think that's Rachel. Also, because I'm pretty certain that I'm pretty sure that Wangnan had Akraptor's ring after he died. So if Wangnan has Ackraptor's after he died, then that has to be Ackraptor's wife's ring that the daughter has. So yeah, I would assume that's the daughter. I mean, it doesn't 100% have to be. We could always get a backstory of, oh yes, she took the ring from the daughter, but it's probably the daughter. Which brings up again, if the daughter was taken by the 10 families, or maybe, yeah, I think it was the daughter was taken by the 10 families because the wife was a member of the 10 families. So if the daughter was taken by them, why is the daughter with FUG? Unless the daughter rebelled and is like, yeah, I want some revenge against the 10 families for being so bad. So yeah, this is just a weird situation. It's hype because we're getting to see this, and I like this subplot, and I wish we focused more on the side characters and side plots. Because I really like this one, but it also just brings up a lot of questions like, why are Akryung and Ackraptor's daughter working for FUG in this way? So yeah, there's that. The K9 people agree to help Yama. We have these funny Doom bits that I like where Doom gets a little bit of comedic time. I'm cool with that. I like that. Bomb goes to apologize to Louie. I thought this was a really, really good way to pay off the Louie and Dang Dang storyline in the end. There was a lot about the storyline that it was like, maybe that was a bit unnecessary and stuff. And see, here I'm torn, because I'm like, maybe some stuff was a bit unnecessary, we should have just got less of it. And then I'm like, maybe it should have been written better and it should have been more present, and it would have made it more impactful. But either way, I think the ending really paid it off well, where it was a situation where Bomb apologizes. He's like, look, I guess I didn't want to save him hard enough. I'm sorry. And Louis says, Dang Dang was happy just that you reached out your hand, just that you offered to save him, just that you tried to save him was good enough for Dang Dang. But next time you offer to save somebody, make sure you actually go through with it, that you succeed, that you actually save them. So I do like that way to pay it off, where Bomb promised to save somebody, but he failed, and it's always good to see your main character have a shortcoming, have them have a failure to learn and grow from. And now Bomb has sort of learned the lesson. Either don't say you're going to save somebody if you don't have the actual will and means to save them, or if you do say you're going to save somebody, make sure you can actually go through with it. So it was a lesson to be learned, which was really cool in the end. Jalulu gets a job with Kan Hong, and this was the best. It was hilarious. I was so happy that in the end Jalulu isn't forgotten. She gets her sort of happy ending or whatever, getting a job. And, I mean, don't we all just want financial stability? Jalulu, living the dream. So that was awesome. I loved that. Evan Kell and Yuan Sung talk. They're going to be going to the cage. White is going to go with Bomb's team, and I love this just because I love the idea of White being an enemy that is now becoming an ally because he and Bomb have common enemies. And White is a character that I talked about a lot back in like Floor of Death, which was so long ago now when I think about it. But Floor of Death is really when this storyline was happening a lot with White, where White starts off, doesn't care about anybody else, completely selfish. And through the course of the series, as he's met Bomb and Bomb's team and everything, he becomes a bit less selfish here and there. He's still sort of evil and scary at this point, but White is on sort of this slow, I don't know if I'd want to even call it a road to redemption, that might be a little bit too far, but this slow sort of development into a different character, so to speak, a better person. So I like that. I like White going with them, how he mentions that I hate the Slayer candidate personally, but I can't do anything because of this damn conscience in my head. Jiminy Cricket Albelda in my mind won't allow me to harm him. So I love that. Also, there's a logical reason behind it with Evan Kell not wanting Bomb to just be running around with, I mean, what's the point? Bomb's been running around with rankers and high rankers for a long ass time, but saying that if Bomb runs around with rankers and high rankers, it'll probably attract unwanted attention, but White is still technically a regular, so they can travel as a group of regulars would. Because White pretty much never climbed to the top of the tower to become a ranker. They just went off and ate all the souls of these countries they had warring with each other and stuff to get stronger. So White has the power of a high ranker, but is still technically a regular. So I like that it does make sense that he's heading with them as well. We get cameos for Quietro, Ranmei, and Varagarv as Kanzone is rallying the cage, explaining about how Gato is dead now and Yama's been sent somewhere, and now the cage has to go there and they have to fight to protect and support their leader. Not necessarily protect. Like he says, Yama is super strong, he's our king, but he's up against an entire army. We have to go support our king. So again, liked all of that. Another thing that's sort of small that I liked was Paul explaining things to Tall and Grande, his people, pretty much like, okay, we were gonna take over the cage and make us the real canine people and screw these canine people that kicked us out, but now we've made an alliance with them. And how Paul's people were like, you know what? We're loyal to you because you're the grandest leader of all the canine people, so we're gonna work for you anyway. We get an introduction to the Mian, which teleports Bomb, Raccoon, Hatsu, and Ship, who I love are going with them, in white. So the Mian is this creature that we saw Paul had used to warp around, and it does have some sort of drawbacks. The sender Mian can only send to a receiver Mian, so there has to be two of them in order to transport things back and forth between them, and also they can't transport things from lower floors to higher floors. They can only go from one, at least from what I understand, they can only go from one floor to the same floor, or from one floor to a lower floor. So the wall, where all this is going on with Yama and with Yasracha's group and everything, that's all happening on this same floor that the cage and everything is on. So all they're doing is sending themselves from one place in the same floor to the other place. But as far as the Mian, at least I'm hoping I'm not getting this backwards. I'm pretty sure that that's on the same floor, and that where Calavan is on a lower floor, so they're sending Bomb's group to a lower floor using the Mian. So I'm hoping I'm not getting that backwards, and that Calavan's on the same floor, and that Yama and Yasracha are on a lower floor. But I'm pretty sure Yama and Yasracha are on the same floor. Calavan's the one on the lower floor. Just hoping I'm not getting that backwards. I didn't actually write the distinction down. So I'm going from memory, and hopefully my memory's right, but I am just here admitting, full disclosure, I'm not 100% off the top of my head. But then Kelhelm and Sowo send the cage to the wall then. Yama is lamenting, or sort of introspecting on how he was beaten without even laying a finger on Yasracha, and how he's always been selfish, always been alone, and that's what he thinks. But then he sees the cage showing up, and all these people who are his siblings or friends or allies coming to his aid, with just this squad rolling up. We got Kanzone, Paul, Doom, Evankel, Karaka, Jordan, Verdici that we saw just in that one panel, and of course there are probably going to be plenty others to fight some of the Scrub Lord members of whatever Yasracha's group is. If that's how this plays out, we don't know exactly how this is going to play out yet because of Yasracha's ability, and we don't know how far Yasracha's ability can go necessarily. But in the corner of that panel also might be Yuhan Sung or Ruel Mon. I don't think it's Ruel Mon, or it could just be part of Jordan's clothing. Not 100% on that one, but either way, it would make sense that Ruel Mon and Yuhan Sung are there, especially since Yuhan Sung said he was going there. So they're going to be there either way. And the ending was so hype, where Yasracha's just smiling like, Zahard saw this coming. That's why he sent me. Oh, it's so good. So good. So who knows if Yasracha is going to be able to control all of the canine people, if this is going to be Yama's time to burst out of that control and fight back, if Doom maybe is immune to the control, since Doom seems to be the originator of the other canine people, aside from himself and his brothers. So it'll be interesting, or maybe it'll be a situation where I believe Kun probably still has the Fang, unless off-screen they gave Apple to somebody else, which could be very much the case. The Fang could have changed hands off-screen for now. That could be a very real thing that happened. But maybe perhaps the solution will be that Doom needs to get the Fang back in order to use his ability to control to override Yusrach's ability to control. Maybe that would be the situation. So there are a lot of really cool ways this could go. The ending was really, really hype. Nothing really important to mention in the blog. The blog was all kind of straightforward and obvious stuff from actually reading the chapter, except mentioning that Volume 2 of a physical version has now come out, and I really want the physical version. Somebody needs to publish that in English, because it's one of those things where we get it for free anyway on Webtoons, but I feel like really hardcore fans like myself would still love to collect it. I would love to own a physical version if they released it in English. I think that'd be so cool. So yeah, I thought that it was a great chapter. I loved it. I thought it was really good story-wise. Like I said, wrapping up the stuff in a satisfying way with Jalulu, with Paul's group, I guess, with the Rachel's group stuff, the formerly Rachel's group stuff. What was I thinking? The Deng Deng and Louie stuff especially, wrapping that up in a satisfying way. It was good story-wise. The Yama stuff where it was all about him feeling alone and then people were there for him. It was super fun to read. Really, really fun to read. And just hype and full of surprises. I wasn't expecting some of the stuff to play out the way it played out. And I really wasn't expecting the stuff with Icraptor's daughter. So, yeah, lots of surprises. Really, really hype. I'm excited to see where this goes from now. I'm going to say 9 out of 10. Loved it. 9 field trips out of 10. Loved it. I will say if I were to think of any criticism, that's not even really a criticism, it's the Calavan stuff. So let's talk about that just for a second, and me thinking it's a bit too soon. I'm kind of wondering what you all think, but it kind of feels like Bomb's group is rushing into this, and I don't understand how Bomb's group, even after a few years of training, is supposed to stand up to Calavan. Calavan, I wouldn't say easily defeated Ha Jinsung, but he definitely firmly defeated Ha Jinsung, a top 100 ranker. So I just don't get how Bomb's group at this point, even after the training, is supposed to not just get one shot by him. So that's just sort of a thing where power scaling can be weird, but it just feels like way too early for this, unless their objective is not to fight him and just to get information, but that doesn't seem to be the case necessarily. So I'm just confused at what CU's doing. I'm confused at what Bomb's group expects here. Because I would expect for them to just get totally washed. So I'm not sure what Bomb's group is expecting. So it's kind of weird. But yeah, that's the only thing I'm kind of unsure of. I wouldn't call it a negative on this chapter or anything. I wonder where CU's going with that, Because that's one of those things where I really don't exactly see what CU's planning with all that. Especially since we're just jumping straight into that, and we've forgotten the Yule and Kel stuff, and the hostages being held stuff for now. It kind of felt like that hostage stuff would need to be important before we got into the Calavan stuff. So yeah, it just feels like a weird order to do things in. But either way, that is it. Gonna end the review here. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed this chapter as much as I did, and you're enjoying the story right now, so that we can all just enjoy Tower of God and talk about it together. But either way, if you did like the video, and comment down there to tell me what you thought of this week's chapter, what you thought of my thoughts, and all of that. Subscribe for more Tower of God, much more on the channel. Follow on Twitter if you want. I can try to keep you updated there and stuff for the channel, or talk to you there. If you'd like a link to our Discord server to talk to me or more of us on Discord, it's free and open for anyone. And if you would like to help support the channel on Patreon so that I can continue to make these videos and everything else week to week, then it's patreon.com/HakuOfTheTubes, or a link will be in the description. But even if you can't, any amount helps. But even if you can't, just watching, being a part of the community, more than enough. I'm really, really grateful for all of you. So thank you again, and I'll see you all next time.